I stared at the crumpled envelope in my hands, my father's shaky handwriting mocking me from the return address. After 30 years of silence, he chose now to reach out. I tossed it onto the kitchen counter and poured myself a generous glass of Merlot. The phone rang, startling me. It was Greta, my younger sister. "Riley? Did you get one too?" Her voice trembled. I sighed. "Yeah, just now. Haven't opened it yet." "What do you think he wants?" "Money, probably," I scoffed. "Or forgiveness. Fat chance of either." Greta was quiet for a moment. "Maybe we should hear him out. He is our father, after all. Biologically, sure, but he lost the right to call himself that when he walked out on us and Mom." The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. "I know, but—" "No buts, Greta. He made his choice. We don't owe him anything." After we hung up, I glared at the envelope. Against my better judgment, I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the handwriting as familiar as it was unwelcome. "Dear Riley, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but I'm dying. Cancer. The doctors give me 6 months at most. I'd like to see you and Greta one last time, to explain and maybe make amends. Please call the number below if you're willing to meet. Love, Dad." I crumpled the letter and hurled it across the room. How dare he? After everything he'd put us through, he thought he could waltz back into our lives with a sob story, and all would be forgiven? The doorbell rang, jolting me from my anger. I opened it to find Grandma Mabel, her kind eyes crinkling with concern. "I saw the car in the driveway," she said. "Thought you might need some company." I stepped aside to let her in, grateful for her presence. Mabel had been our rock after Dad left, and Mom spiraled into depression. She'd raised us, loved us, been the parent we needed. "He wrote to you, didn't he?" Mabel asked, settling onto the couch. I nodded, retrieving the crumpled letter. "How did you know?" "He called me last week, asking for your address." Mabel's lips thinned. "I told him he had no right, but, well, you know your father, stubborn as a mule." I sat beside her, suddenly feeling like a lost little girl again. "What should I do, Grandma?" Mabel took my hand. "That's not for me to decide, sweetheart. But remember, forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the anger that's weighing you down." I leaned my head on her shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of lavender. "I don't know if I can face him." "You're stronger than you think, Riley. You always have been." We sat in comfortable silence for a while until Mabel spoke again. "There's something else you should know. Your father left a will." I jerked upright. "What?" Mabel nodded gravely. "He's leaving everything to you and Greta, equal shares." My mind reeled. After abandoning us, after years of no child support or birthday cards, he thought he could buy our love with an inheritance? "I don't want his money," I spat. "I understand, dear. But there's more to it than that. The lawyer mentioned something about family heirlooms, things that belonged to your great-grandmother." My heart clenched. I'd always wondered about our family history. The stories and treasures lost when Dad walked out. The phone rang again, Greta's name flashing on the screen. I answered, my voice tight. "Did you know about the will?" "What will?" Greta gasped. "Riley, what's going on?" As I filled her in, my anger battled with a growing curiosity. What secrets lay hidden in our father's past? And was I ready to face him, to hear his explanations after all these years? One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The office bustled with activity, but I couldn't focus. My father's letter and the news of his will weighed heavily on my mind. I was so lost in thought that I didn't notice someone approach my desk until a gentle voice broke through my reverie. "Rough morning?" I looked up to see Theo, the new guy from marketing. His kind eyes and easy smile made my heart skip a beat. "Is it that obvious?" I asked, forcing a laugh. He pulled up a chair. "Want to talk about it? I'm told I'm a pretty good listener." Something in his expression made me trust him. Before I knew it, I was spilling the whole story, my father's abandonment, his recent letter, the will. Theo listened intently, his brow furrowing with concern. "That's a lot to process," he said when I finished. "I can relate, actually. My mom left when I was young, never heard from her again." Our eyes met, and I felt a connection I hadn't experienced in years. "How did you deal with it?" I asked. Theo shrugged. "Therapy, mostly, and learning to forgive, not for her sake, but for mine." His words echoed Grandma Mabel's advice, and I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe there was a way through this mess after all. Our conversation was interrupted by my phone buzzing. It was Greta. "Riley, you'll never believe it," she exclaimed. "I got the job." My mood instantly lifted. "That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you, sis." As I hung up, I noticed Theo watching me curiously. "Good news?" I nodded, explaining Greta's struggle to find work after her recent divorce. "She's been through so much. It's nice to see things finally looking up for her." Theo's smile was warm. "Sounds like you two are close." "We are now," I admitted. "It wasn't always easy, especially after Dad left, but we've got each other's backs." The rest of the day flew by, my spirits buoyed by Greta's success and Theo's unexpected kindness. As I was packing up to leave, Theo appeared at my desk again. "Listen," he said, looking slightly nervous. "I know this might be terrible timing, but would you like to grab dinner sometime?" My heart raced. It had been so long since I'd felt this kind of connection with someone. But with everything going on with my father, "I'd love to," I heard myself say. "But can we take it slow? I've got a lot on my plate right now." Theo's smile was understanding. "Of course. How about we start with coffee?" As we made plans, my phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. My stomach dropped as I realized who it must be. "Hello?" I answered hesitantly. "Riley, it's your father." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I gripped the edge of my desk, grateful for Theo's steadying presence beside me. "Why are you calling?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "I know I have no right," my father said, his voice rough with emotion, "but I need to see you and Greta. There are things you need to know, things I should have told you years ago." My mind raced. What could be so important that he'd reach out now, after all this time? "I can't promise anything," I said finally. "I need to talk to Greta first." "I understand," he replied. "Just, please consider it. Time isn't on my side anymore." As I hung up, I realized my hands were shaking. Theo placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. I shook my head, tears threatening to spill. "I don't know. I thought I was ready to face this, but now." Theo squeezed my shoulder. "Whatever you decide, you don't have to go through it alone." Looking into his eyes, I felt a mix of gratitude and fear. Could I trust this newfound connection, or would it crumble like so many others in my life? As we left the office together, I couldn't shake the feeling that my carefully constructed world was about to change forever. The question was, would it be for better or worse? I smoothed down my wedding dress, heart racing as I prepared to walk down the aisle. 2 years had passed since that fateful day I met Theo, and now here we were, about to start our life together. As the music swelled, I caught sight of Greta beaming at me from her place as maid of honor. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, my eyes locking with Theo's. The ceremony was a blur of joy and tears, but as we said our vows, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Maybe, just maybe, I could finally put the pain of my past behind me. 5 years later, that peace was starting to crumble. "Theo?" I called out, padding into our darkened bedroom. "Are you asleep already?" A muffled grunt was my only answer. I sighed, climbing into bed beside my husband's motionless form. This had become our nightly routine, me coming home late from work to find Theo already in bed, claiming exhaustion. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. When was the last time we'd had a real conversation? Made love? The distance between us seemed to grow with each passing day. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed and a hastily scrawled note. "Early meeting. See you tonight." I crumpled the paper, frustration building. We needed to talk, really talk, about what was happening to us. My phone buzzed with a text from Greta. "Lunch today? Big news." At least one relationship in my life was solid. Over salads, Greta's eyes sparkled as she shared her excitement. "We're trying for a baby." My heart clenched. "That's wonderful," I managed, forcing a smile. Greta's face fell. "What's wrong, Riles? I thought you'd be happy for me." I reached for her hand. "I am, truly. It's just—" I hesitated, then the words tumbled out. "Theo and I have been trying for years with no luck, and lately, he's been so distant. I don't know what to do." Greta squeezed my hand. "Have you talked to him about it?" I shook my head. "He's always too tired or busy. I'm starting to wonder if he even wants kids anymore." "Oh, Riley," Greta sighed. "You need to confront this head on. Don't let it fester." I nodded, knowing she was right. That evening, I was determined to have it out with Theo, but my plans were derailed by an unexpected visitor. "Irene," I said, surprised to find my mother-in-law on our doorstep. "What brings you by?" Irene swept past me, her perfume cloying in the small entryway. "Where's my son? We need to talk." Before I could answer, Theo appeared, looking wary. "Mom? What's going on?" Irene fixed us both with a stern look. "I'll tell you what's going on. I'm tired of waiting for grandchildren. When are you two going to give me some babies to spoil?" The room seemed to shrink, tension thick in the air. Theo's face paled, and I felt a surge of anger. "That's none of your business," I snapped. "Our family planning is between Theo and me." Irene's eyes narrowed. "It becomes my business when my son is clearly unhappy. I raised him to be a family man, and—" "Enough!" Theo shouted, startling us both. "Mom, you need to leave, now." As the door closed behind a sputtering Irene, I turned to Theo. "We need to talk." He nodded, slumping onto the couch. "I know." I sat beside him, my heart pounding. "What's happening to us, Theo? You're never home. We barely talk. And when was the last time we were intimate?" Theo's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Riley. I've been hiding something from you." My blood ran cold. "What is it?" "Just tell me." He took a shaky breath. "I went to a doctor a few months ago. I'm infertile, Riley. We can't have children. It's my fault." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. All our struggles, all the distance between us, suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Theo's voice broke. I was ashamed. I thought you'd leave me if you knew." As the weight of his confession settled over us, I realized we were at a crossroads. Could our marriage survive this secret? And more importantly, did I want it to? I stared at Theo, his confession hanging heavy in the air between us. Infertile. The word echoed in my mind, a cruel twist of fate that explained so much yet solved nothing. "How long have you known?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Theo's shoulders slumped. 6 months. I couldn't bring myself to tell you. I thought if I just worked harder, made more money, maybe it wouldn't matter as much." Anger flared within me. 6 months? You've been lying to me for half a year?" "I'm sorry, Riley. I was scared. I thought you'd leave me if you knew." I stood up, pacing the room. "So instead, you pushed me away? Made me feel like I wasn't enough?" Theo reached for me, but I stepped back. "I need some air," I said, grabbing my keys and heading for the door. As I drove aimlessly through the night, memories flooded back. My father walking out, my mother's descent into depression. The feeling of not being enough, of being abandoned. And now Theo's deception brought it all rushing back. I found myself at Greta's apartment, knocking before I could think better of it. She opened the door, took one look at my tear-stained face, and pulled me into a hug. "Oh, Riley," she murmured. "What happened?" I spilled everything. Theo's infertility, his lies, my conflicted feelings. Greta listened, her face a mix of sympathy and concern. "What are you going to do?" she asked when I finished. I shook my head. "I don't know. Part of me wants to forgive him, to work through this, but another part is furious and hurt," Greta finished. "That's understandable." We talked late into the night, weighing options and consequences. As dawn broke, I made my decision. Back home, I found Theo asleep on the couch, looking haggard. I gently shook him awake. "Riley," he said, sitting up quickly. "I'm so sorry. Please, can we talk?" I nodded, sitting beside him. "I'm angry, Theo, and hurt, but I love you, and I want to fight for us." Relief washed over his face. "I love you too. I'll do anything to make this right." "Then no more secrets," I said firmly. "We face this together, starting now." Over the next few weeks, we threw ourselves into research, doctor's appointments, and long, honest conversations. We explored options: adoption, surrogacy, even remaining child-free. Slowly, the distance between us began to close. One evening, as we cuddled on the couch, Theo turned to me with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," he said. "Maybe we should look into adoption. There are so many kids out there who need a loving home." My heart swelled. "I'd like that," I replied, squeezing his hand. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Greta. "Pregnant, can't wait to tell you all about it tomorrow." I felt a pang of envy, quickly followed by guilt. I should be happy for my sister, shouldn't I? Theo noticed my expression. "What is it?" I showed him the text, watching his face carefully. To my surprise, he smiled. "That's wonderful news. We should celebrate with them." "You're not upset?" I asked hesitantly. He shook his head. "I'm learning that family comes in many forms. We'll find our path, Riley. And in the meantime, we get to be the cool aunt and uncle." His words warmed me, easing some of the tension I'd been carrying. Maybe we could make this work after all. The next day, as we prepared to meet Greta and her husband for dinner, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made me answer. Hello? Riley? A familiar voice, one I hadn't heard in years. It's your father. I know I have no right, but I'm in town. I'd like to see you and Greta if you're willing. I froze, my mind racing. After everything that had happened, could I face him? Should I? Theo appeared in the doorway, concern etched on his face. Riley, what's wrong? I looked at my husband, then back at the phone in my hand. It was time to make a decision, one that could change everything. The day Greta called to announce her engagement was one of the happiest I'd experienced in years. After everything we'd been through, my little sister deserved this joy. As I hung up the phone, an idea struck me. Theo, I called out, I want to give Greta Grandma Mabel's ring for her wedding. What do you think? He appeared in the doorway, smiling. That's a wonderful idea, honey. She'll love it. I felt a warmth spread through me. Despite our struggles, moments like these reminded me why I'd fallen in love with Theo in the first place. The next day, I left work early to search for the ring. I knew it was tucked away in a box in our bedroom closet, a cherished heirloom I'd been saving for a special occasion. As I approached our house, I noticed Theo's car in the driveway. Strange. He usually worked late on Thursdays. I entered quietly, planning to surprise him. But as I neared our bedroom, I heard muffled voices. My heart raced as I pushed the door open. The scene before me shattered my world in an instant. Theo, my husband, tangled in our bedsheets with a woman I'd never seen before. They scrambled to cover themselves, but the damage was done. Riley! Theo gasped, his face a mask of shock and guilt. I can explain. I held up a hand, silencing him. My voice was ice when I spoke. Get out, both of you. Now, the woman, red-faced and avoiding my gaze, gathered her clothes and fled. Theo approached me, reaching out. Please, Riley, let me. Don't touch me, I hissed, recoiling. How long has this been going on? He hesitated, and in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a one-time mistake, this was a betrayal that ran deep. Get out, I repeated, my voice breaking. I can't even look at you right now. As the front door slammed behind him, I collapsed onto the bed, sobs racking my body. How could he do this? After everything we'd been through, the struggles we'd faced together, how could he throw it all away? Hours passed as I sat there, numb and lost. When my phone rang, I almost ignored it, but seeing Greta's name on the screen, I answered. Riley? Her excited voice felt like it was coming from another world. Have you found the ring yet? I can't wait to see it. The ring. In my shock, I'd completely forgotten why I'd come home early. I haven't had a chance to look yet, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Is everything okay? Greta asked, concern creeping into her tone. You sound off. I wanted to tell her everything, to let my sister comfort me as she had so many times before, but I couldn't bring myself to taint her happiness with my pain. I'm fine, I lied. Just a long day at work. I'll find the ring this weekend, I promise. After hanging up, I forced myself to move. I had to find that ring. It was the one thing I could control right now, the one promise I could keep. As I dug through the closet, my hand brushed against a small box I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a stack of papers, bank statements, hotel receipts, and a letter addressed to Theo from someone named Melissa. With shaking hands, I unfolded the letter. As I read, my world tilted on its axis once again. This wasn't just an affair. Theo had a child, a little girl, with this woman. A child he'd been secretly supporting for years. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. The late nights at work, the financial strain we'd been under, his reluctance to pursue adoption. It had all been a lie. I sank to the floor, the evidence of Theo's deception scattered around me. In that moment, I knew our marriage was over. The question was, what would I do now? As dawn broke, I made my decision. I would confront Theo, armed with the truth. But first, I had a call to make. I dialed Greta's number, my resolve strengthening with each ring. When she answered, I took a deep breath. Greta, I need your help. There's something I have to tell you. I paced our living room, my hands shaking as I clutched the damning evidence. Greta's voice echoed in my head, urging me to stay calm, to think clearly. But how could I, when my entire world had just imploded? The sound of a key in the lock made me freeze. Theo entered, his face a mask of guilt and fear. Riley, he began, I know what you saw, but please. Sit down, I cut him off, my voice ice cold. We need to talk. He sank onto the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. I know everything, Theo, I said, spreading the papers on the coffee table between us. The affair, the secret bank account, and your daughter. His face paled. How did you? It doesn't matter how I know, I snapped. What matters is that you've been lying to me for years. Years, Theo. He buried his face in his hands. I'm so sorry, Riley. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, I said, my voice rising. You told me you were infertile, that we couldn't have children. Was that just another lie? Theo looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. No, that part was true. I am infertile. Melissa, she got pregnant before we found out. I didn't know how to tell you. The irony of it all hit me like a punch to the gut. All this time I'd been blaming myself for our inability to conceive, and he'd had a child all along. How old is she? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. 4, Theo replied. Her name is Emma. 4 years. Our entire marriage had been built on this lie. I want a divorce, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Theo's head snapped up. Riley, please, we can work through this. I'll do anything. There's nothing to work through, I interrupted. You've been living a double life, Theo. How can I ever trust you again? He stood, reaching for me. I love you, Riley. Only you. Melissa was a mistake. I stepped back, anger flaring. A mistake? You have a child with her. That's not a mistake. That's a life-altering decision you made without me. Tears streamed down my face as I continued. And what about Emma? She's innocent in all this. How could you keep her a secret, deny her a father? Theo's shoulders slumped. I was scared. I thought I'd lose everything. You, my job, my family. I convinced myself that supporting them financially was enough. Well, congratulations, I said bitterly. You're going to lose it all anyway. I grabbed a folder from the side table and thrust it at him. These are divorce papers. I'm asking for alimony, given the years of deception and financial infidelity. Theo's hands trembled as he took the folder. Riley, please, can't we at least try counseling? I shook my head. It's too late for that. I've already spoken to a lawyer. You have until the end of the week to move out. As the reality of the situation sank in, Theo's face crumpled. What am I supposed to do? Where will I go? For a moment I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then I remembered the look on his face when I caught him with that woman, the years of lies and secrets. That's not my problem anymore, I said, my voice hard. You made your choices, Theo. Now you have to live with them. I turned away, unable to bear the sight of him any longer. I'll be staying with Greta for a few days. When I come back, I expect you to be gone. As I headed for the door, Theo called out one last time. Riley, wait, there's something else you need to know. But I was already gone, slamming the door behind me. Whatever other secrets he was hiding, I couldn't bear to hear them. Not now, maybe not ever. As I drove to Greta's, my mind raced. How had my life come to this? And more importantly, where did I go from here? I'd been staying at Greta's for a week when Theo's incessant calls finally wore me down. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a cafe near my house. As I approached, I saw him hunched over a table, looking haggard and unkempt. A pang of sympathy shot through me, quickly replaced by anger. He didn't get to look devastated. He wasn't the victim here. Riley, he said, standing as I sat down. Thank you for coming. I cut straight to the chase. What do you want, Theo? I thought I made myself clear. He took a deep breath. There's more you need to know, about Emma, about everything. My heart raced. What more could there possibly be? I'm listening, I said, my voice cold. Theo's eyes filled with tears. Emma, she's sick, leukemia. That's why I've been taking so much money out of our accounts, for her treatments. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. A sick child. Of course, because this situation wasn't complicated enough already. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, my anger momentarily forgotten. I was a coward, Theo admitted. I thought I could handle it all on my own, but I can't. I need your help, Riley. I laughed bitterly. My help? You lied to me for years, Theo. You cheated on me, and now you want my help? He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I know I don't deserve it, he said, but Emma does. She's innocent in all this. A memory flashed through my mind, my father walking out, leaving us to fend for ourselves, the pain of abandonment that had shaped my entire life. What exactly are you asking me to do? I asked, my voice shaking. Theo hesitated. The treatments aren't working. She needs a bone marrow transplant. Neither Melissa nor I are a match. The implication hung heavy in the air. He wanted me to get tested, to potentially save the life of the child born from his betrayal. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Greta. "Dad's in the hospital. It's bad. Come quick." I stood abruptly, my head spinning. "I have to go," I told Theo. "My father, he's dying." Theo's face fell. "Riley, I'm so sorry, but please think about what I said. Emma doesn't have much time." As I rushed to my car, emotions warred within me. My dying father, who had abandoned us years ago. Theo's sick daughter, a child I'd never met but who shared my husband's blood. The ghosts of my past colliding with the wreckage of my present. At the hospital, I found Greta in the waiting room, her face tear-stained. "He's asking for you," she said softly. I entered my father's room, steeling myself. He looked small and frail, a shadow of the man who had loomed so large in my childhood memories. "Riley," he rasped. "You came." I nodded, unable to speak. "I know I have no right," he continued, "but I need to tell you something about why I left." Part of me wanted to scream, to tell him it was too late for explanations. But another part, the little girl who had always wondered why she wasn't enough, needed to hear it. "Go on," I said, my father's eyes filled with tears. "I had another family, a wife, 2 sons. They didn't know about you and Greta. When your mother found out, she gave me an ultimatum. I made the wrong choice." The room seemed to close in around me. Another family. More siblings I'd never known about. How many more secrets could one day hold? "Why are you telling me this now?" I demanded. "Because they're here," he said. "Your brothers. They want to meet you." As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. 2 men entered, their faces a strange mix of familiar and foreign. I looked from them to my dying father, to Greta hovering in the doorway, her face a mirror of my own shock. In that moment, I felt the weight of every lie, every secret, every betrayal crushing down on me. "I can't do this," I choked out, pushing past my newfound brothers and into the hallway. As I ran, Theo's words echoed in my mind, mingling with my father's confession and the sight of those strangers who shared my blood. How many more impossible choices would I have to make? How much more could I possibly take? The day of the divorce hearing arrived with a sense of finality I wasn't prepared for. As I walked into the courthouse, I spotted Theo standing with Irene and a woman I assumed was Melissa. The sight of them together, a twisted family unit, made my stomach churn. "Riley," Theo called out, approaching me. "Please, can we talk before?" "There's nothing left to say," I cut him off, brushing past them. Inside, our lawyers presented their cases. I sat numb as the details of our shattered marriage were laid bare. Theo's infidelity, the financial deception, the secret child. It all felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. As the judge prepared to make her ruling, Theo suddenly stood. "Your Honor, I need to say something." My heart raced as he turned to face me. "Riley, I know I've hurt you beyond measure. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But Emma, she's getting worse. The doctors say she might not have much time left." The courtroom fell silent. I could feel all eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. "What are you asking, Theo?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. He took a deep breath. "I'm asking you to consider getting tested as a bone marrow donor. I know it's an impossible request, but she's just a little girl. She doesn't deserve to suffer for my mistakes." The weight of his words crashed over me. I thought of my father, lying in a hospital bed, seeking redemption too late. Of the brothers I'd never known, waiting for a chance to connect. Of Greta, always by my side, proof that family could transcend blood. In that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. "I'll do it," I said, my voice stronger now. "I'll get tested, but not for you, Theo, for Emma." The relief on his face was palpable, but I wasn't finished. And if I'm a match, if I go through with this, I want something in return. "Anything," Theo said quickly. I took a deep breath. "I want you to sign away your parental rights, to let me adopt Emma." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Theo's face paled. "But she's my daughter." "And you failed her," I said firmly, "just like my father failed me. I won't let another child grow up feeling abandoned and unloved. Emma deserves better." Tears streamed down Theo's face as he nodded slowly. "Okay," he whispered. "If that's what it takes to save her, I'll do it." The judge, visibly moved, called a recess to allow us to work out the details. As we left the courtroom, I felt a hand on my arm. It was Irene. Riley, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I owe you an apology. I've been so blind to Theo's faults, so focused on having a grandchild, I never saw the amazing woman you are. I nodded, accepting her words but not quite ready to forgive. As I turned away, I saw Greta rushing towards me, her face a mix of concern and pride. I heard everything, she said, pulling me into a hug. Are you sure about this? I nodded against her shoulder. I am. It's time to break the cycle, Greta, to be the family we always wished we had. Over the next few weeks, as we waited for the test results, I spent time with my father and newfound brothers. It wasn't easy, but slowly we began to build bridges. When the call came that I was a match for Emma, I felt a sense of purpose I'd never known before. The day of the transplant, I lay in the hospital bed, watching as my bone marrow was collected. Across the hall, a little girl I'd never met waited for the gift of life. As the nurse wheeled me out, I caught sight of Theo in the waiting room, looking lost and broken. Take care of her, I said as I passed him. Until I can. He nodded, unable to speak. As I recovered, surrounded by Greta, my brothers, and even my ailing father, I realized that family wasn't about perfect people or unbroken bonds. It was about choice, about love that perseveres despite the pain. Months later, as I finalized Emma's adoption papers, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to be the parent I'd always needed, to create a family built on honesty and unconditional love. As I signed my name, making Emma officially mine, I thought of Grandma Mabel's words from so long ago. Family is more than blood, Riley. It's about who stands by you when the world falls apart. Looking at the little girl who now called me Mom, I knew those words had never been truer. We were survivors, Emma and I, and together we'd write a new chapter, one of healing, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bonds of chosen family.